on the rapids.
The biggest one is Gauntlet.
When do we do that one?
Well, we don't do that one.
But out of control.
They're so creepy. I just think we have to get away from them.
You're gonna get another chance to run the gauntlet. We're not stopping at Bridal Creek. I'm taking my family, and I'm leaving.
Meryl Streep
Do what I say when I say it. Otherwise, we got no chance in hell of making it through.
opens a series of Sunday movies, The River Wild, Sunday at 7:15 on BBC One.
Shirley Bassey, as you've never seen her before.
I've been standing in this gown for nearly 3 hours. Oh, I love these glasses. I love it. I get to kiss every man.
On tour with the bombshell from Tiger Bay.
It's incredible.
Shirley Bassey, tomorrow at 10:05 on BBC One.
Okay, cut.
A series marking the Muslim month of fasting begins in 20 minutes here on BBC One. Chris Eubank talks about the meeting with Mike Tyson that changed his life in Faces of Islam. The main evening news first on BBC One with Peter Sissons.
A breakaway loyalist terror group has admitted carrying out last night's gun attack on a Belfast bar. Gunmen from the Loyalist Volunteer Force killed one man and wounded 5 others, and the group threatens yet more violence. A tanker is blown 2 miles onto rocks as the west of England is battered by storms. And abandoned on New Year's Eve, the baby boy left in an East London alleyway. A splinter group of loyalist terrorists whose leader was murdered in the Maze prison last week has admitted killing again to avenge his death and said this is not the end. Gunmen from the Loyalist Volunteer Force shot dead the latest victim in a Belfast bar last night. Security sources say one of the main loyalist terrorist groups with political links at the peace talks may have assisted the attack. The Northern Ireland Secretary Mo Mowlam is to break her New Year holiday for security talks tomorrow. From Belfast, Tom Coulter reports.
A new year, but an old image from the streets of Northern Ireland. People laying flowers at the scene of the latest terrorist attack. Tonight, the Loyalist Volunteer Force admitted they carried out the shooting. Last night, 2 masked gunmen walked into the Clifton Tavern and opened fire indiscriminately, killing 31-year-old Catholic Edmund Traynor and wounding 5 others. In their statement, using a recognised code word, the LVF said the murder was a reprisal for the killing of their leader, Billy Wright, in the Maze prison on Saturday. The LVF was formed 16 months ago, when Wright broke away from the larger Ulster Volunteer Force, unhappy at their participation in the peace process. Security and loyalist sources suspect one of the mainstream loyalist terror groups must have been involved in last night's shooting, as the LVF are not thought to have a presence on Belfast Shankill Road, from where the attack was launched.
I am concerned that, where this killing has come from. If it has come from one of the mainstream loyalist paramilitary organisations, then I think the process is finished, because I think the process is ailing at this point in time, and I think a killing, I guess, would just finish it off completely.
One thing that can be said about the people of North Belfast is that we are very wise as to who carries out sectarian assassinations. And whilst on paper the LVF may have claimed the responsibility for this, I doubt that the vast majority of people are convinced by it.
The LVF has warned of further attacks. The RUC Chief Constable has no doubt about their ruthlessness.
This is an organisation comprised of dangerous terrorist criminal killers, prepared to kill people for no reason other than the religion that those people follow. So of course they present a real danger to society.
Many people had hoped the new year would mark a new beginning in the search for peace in Northern Ireland. The events of the past few days and the threat of further violence have made the politicians' job even more urgent and more difficult. Tom Coulter, BBC News, Belfast.
Storms and gale force winds have swept across Britain tonight. Power supplies in parts of North Wales have been disrupted, and a 22,000-tonne tanker was forced onto rocks near Tor Bay in Devon. From there, Stephen Cape reports.
Carelessly on rocks, the 22,000-ton Santa Ana. Luckily, she was not fully laden with oil when she went aground, but Coast Guard officers said she had 3 holes in her side. It's not clear how badly damaged she is, but 270 tons of diesel fuel oil is being pumped into higher holding tanks as a precaution. Eventually, efforts will be made to shift the vessel into open water.
Well, as far as I can see, they're going to stabilise the vessel first. And the next tide, when the Farmanara gets here, which is a tug and able to assist her with the other vessels, they're going to try maybe then and pull her off.
It was a tricky operation. The steel hull groaned as the efforts were made to drag her free, but it was helped because the weather improved. Then, after 6 hours, the ship was free. Still listing to one side, the Santa Ana made for open water. A disaster averted, but the repair bill will still have to be assessed. Stephen Cape, BBC News, Torquay.
Police are trying to trace the mother of a newborn baby boy who was found abandoned in an East London alleyway last night. They say she may need medical help. Andy Tye reports.
Safe and warm, 24 hours after he was abandoned, the 2-day-old baby boy is in a good condition in hospital. He was found lying in an alleyway at 7 o'clock on New Year's Eve. His cries alerted a man on his way to buy a lottery ticket. Doctors say he'd been there about half an hour. Although it was cold, he was wrapped in a white shawl and was wearing a baby grow. The police say his mother could need medical help.
Obviously, our priority will be to consider her welfare and her care, and that if she needs medical attention, that will be the priority. And we want to reunite her with her child.
Detectives also want information about anyone seen carrying a baby or a bundle of clothes in the Leighton area of East London yesterday evening. And they're checking with hospitals in the area for details of births over the last few days. The baby had a plastic umbilical clip attached, which means he was probably delivered with the assistance of a midwife. He's been named Robert Allen, after the 2 ambulancemen who brought him here. Andy Tye, BBC News, at Whipps Cross Hospital, East London.
The police have refused to confirm that they're not calling for the prosecution of the Cabinet Minister's son who's accused of selling cannabis. Today's Times newspaper says detectives propose no action or at most a caution. If that's so, the minister could then identify himself. The body of Michael Kennedy, son of the late Senator Robert Kennedy, has been flown home to Massachusetts. He died from head injuries after a skiing accident, the latest of many tragedies to strike the Kennedy family.
A private plane brought Michael Kennedy's body back to Massachusetts. The Kennedy family, united in grief, gathered to receive it. Michael's brother Joseph supervised the transfer of the body. It was taken to the Kennedy family compound nearby. Michael Kennedy died skiing on this Aspen mountainside. Eyewitnesses said he and family members were throwing a ball around when he lost control and crashed into a tree. Ever since the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, Michael's uncle, in Dallas in November 1963, there's been talk of a Kennedy curse. Just 5 years later came the murder of Robert Kennedy, Michael's father, during his campaign for the presidency. The next generation of Kennedys suffered too. David, Michael's brother, killed by a drug overdose 13 years ago. And the family's reputation was tarnished by scandal. William Kennedy Smith, accused of rape and finally acquitted in a high-profile trial in 1991. And through it all, Michael Kennedy built a promising political reputation. He seemed ambitious.
I think the most important aspect of what people associate with my family is that one person can make a difference.
But last year, newspaper allegations about a sexual relationship with a teenage family babysitter destroyed his political career. He acknowledged serious mistakes. The Kennedys have politics in their blood, but their power is waning. What is left is a troubled family still plagued by misfortune. Stephen Sacker, BBC News, Washington.
There's still a question mark tonight over the future of 2 Labour members of the European Parliament who opposed Tony Blair's welfare cuts. Labour claims Ken Coates and Hugh Kerr have defected to the Greens, but they say they haven't decided yet. Here, secret government papers just released reveal the inside story of a crucial moment in British political history, the 1967 devaluation of the pound. Labour's Prime Minister Harold Wilson, to make British exports cheaper, was forced to cut the pound's value from $2.80 to $2.40. Today, as a matter of interest, the pound closed at $1.64. Our political correspondent David Walter looks back.
Problems crowded in on the government in 1967 until devaluation of the pound became inevitable. It was seen as an acknowledgement that Britain's economic prestige was waning. Harold Wilson's humiliation has haunted subsequent generations of Labour politicians. The Cabinet minutes show how the Prime Minister and his Chancellor James Callaghan anguished over the decision. In a long memo scrawled to the Chancellor in his own handwriting, Harold Wilson says, if we had any choice left, we ought to consider much more seriously any possible alternative. But a fortnight later, he revealed to the Cabinet devaluation was inevitable.
Most of them were a bit shell-shocked. Callaghan handled himself with a more sombre dignity, I think the way in which I would put it, at that time, than did Wilson. Wilson tried to put a sort of slightly cocky face on it, though for both of them it was a defeat.
The Prime Minister wanted to present the U-turn as optimistically as possible, a decision which led to a much derided soundbite.
That doesn't mean, of course, that the pound here in Britain, in your pocket or purse or in your bank, has been devalued.
The records reveal all Harold Wilson's genius for manipulating the news, but even he couldn't stop devaluation knocking his government sideways. David Walter, BBC News.
The American Steve Fossett is doing well in his attempt to make the first non-stop balloon flight around the world. He lifted off from St. Louis last night and is now over the Atlantic. It's his third attempt at the feat. Last time he got as far as India. The trip's expected to last 2 weeks. His fellow American, Kevin Uliassi, who took off from Rockford, Illinois a few hours later, wasn't as lucky and was soon forced to land. Football, and in the Edinburgh Derby, Hearts failed to return to the top of the Scottish Premier League after drawing with Hibernian. Hearts took a commanding early lead with 2 goals from Steve Fulton within the first 10 minutes. But Hibernian fought back in the second half, with Pat McGinley levelling the score at 2-2 with just over 20 minutes to go. Millions of partygoers across the world welcomed in the new year in style. 200,000 revellers gathered in Edinburgh for Europe's biggest street party, with thousands more celebrating elsewhere.
As midnight arrived in Scotland, Edinburgh welcomed 1998 with Britain's biggest street party, as some 200,000 revellers brought the city to life. Free tickets had been distributed in advance. There were only 10 arrests. In the centre of Birmingham, up to 50,000 were also celebrating with a huge free party, the largest in England outside London. Here too, the crowds were very good-natured. And in Trafalgar Square, up to 80,000 gathered for the traditional unofficial marking of Big Ben's midnight chimes. The police took no chances with safety, sealing off the fountains and Nelson's Column. At least 27 people were arrested, mostly for drunkenness. Around the world, the scenes were the same on an even bigger scale. A record 500,000 revellers packed into Times Square in New York, the warmth of the massive celebration contrasting sharply with the sub-zero temperatures. That wasn't the problem in Brazil, where hundreds of thousands poured onto the nighttime beaches at Rio de Janeiro to dance the New Year in, accompanied by a firework display of epic proportions. On the other side of the globe, the people of Hong Kong had already celebrated their first New Year under Chinese rule. The recent economic gloom doing nothing to stop the fun, ahead of even bigger festivities later this month. Elsewhere, there was another party that was, well, out of this world.
Hello from the crew of Mir. We'd like to wish you a Happy New Year from space.
Back on Earth, Muscovites too were partying in a freezing red square, with a James Bond film in the shadow of the Kremlin and champagne suitably chilled. Clarence Mitchell, BBC News.
And the main news tonight, the Loyalist Volunteer Force said it carried out the fatal shooting in a bar in a nationalist part of Belfast last night. It also warned, quote, this is not the end. The Northern Ireland Secretary Mo Mowlam is to cut short her holiday for talks with security officials. And that's all from the BBC Newsroom tonight. From everyone here, good night.
This is BBC One in the South, and now the latest news from South Today.
Hello, good evening to you. 6 people have been charged with public order offences after police in Brighton were pelted with rocks, stones and glasses by New Year's Eve revellers. In total, 27 people were arrested by the police. This report from Neil Dunwoody.
A police car was damaged in the most violent incident when police came under attack from 80 or 90 revellers who'd converged on a Brighton side street. Elsewhere, at a separate gathering, more than 1,000 people spent the night at an illegal party in a boarded-up bingo hall.
I think the police showed themselves to be spectacularly adept at alienating huge swathes of the youth population of Brighton.
The major concern is one of public safety. This is an empty building. The electricity had been cut off, so there were no lit fire exits. And the major concern is that had a fire have taken place, then we would have been looking at a major disaster.
Lighting and sound equipment, including 50 speakers, have been seized by police after they stopped a van in the town. Police say they're disappointed by this violent start to 1998. Neil Dunwoody, BBC South Today.
Charged by police with causing the death of a woman who was killed while walking home from a New Year's Eve celebration near Reading. Lisa Ann Westbroom had just left a pub with her boyfriend when she was hit by a car. Mark Mitchener reports.
Lisa Ann Westbroom died shortly after leaving the Red Lion pub in Woodcote last night. She was killed following a collision between 2 cars. Her fiancé was seriously injured in the accident and is being treated for head injuries at the Royal Berkshire Hospital. Tonight, police charged a 20-year-old man with causing the death of a person while driving dangerously and unfit through drink or drugs. He'll appear in court in Reading tomorrow. Mark Mitchener, BBC South Today.
An investigation is underway into the cause of a fire in Surrey in which a man died. 4 other people managed to scramble to safety from the burning bungalow in Mayford between Guildford and Woking. Fire crews were called to the scene shortly before 9 this morning. The man who died was in his early 20s. A rooftop protest at Broadmoor Top Security Hospital in Berkshire ended peacefully earlier today. 2 patients spent more than 10 hours on the roof. They'd told staff they wanted to see in the new year looking at the stars. The men were also unhappy about restrictions on visiting hours. Warning signs have been put up on a beach in Hampshire where military flares have been washed up over the past few days. The French-made phosphorus flares, which are 15 to 20 inches long, have appeared at Leap Beach near Calshot. People are being warned not to touch the flares. Any discoveries should be reported to the police. And that's all from us this evening. From the Late News team, a very good night.
A very good evening to you. There's yet more stormy weather to come as we go into this weekend. It's been pretty bad today with heavy rain and strong and gusty winds. The radar pictures up beautifully in the west during the morning, and that rain continued to work its way eastwards. Pretty heavy rain too, and some very strong and squally winds. Now the radar too, well, the satellite picture shows that rain pushing in, the cloud coming in with it too, and we're looking at this little bump in the satellite picture now. That's got some thunderstorms mixed in it, and they're likely to run down through into the West Country later tonight and I think through tomorrow. So it looks as though tonight some heavy showers coming into the West Country, showers up the west and northern side as well, but many central and eastern parts ending up dry, but not too cold, 2 or 3 degrees, so really that's not too bad at this time of the year. And then as we go into Friday, well, the isobar is very closely packed together in many places. It looks as though there's going to be some squally winds with that as it pushes across Scotland, and another little low coming down into the Channel area as well. Winds easing down just a shade in central areas as we go through the day, but look at these horrendous winds coming in towards southwestern parts of Ireland by early Saturday morning, and those very strong winds pushing right across the country, I think, as we go through into Saturday and Sunday. So, on tomorrow morning, some pretty miserable weather down across in the West Country. Gale force winds, some heavy showers and thunderstorms, and altogether fairly cloudy, I think, in southern parts too, with some showery outbreaks of rain. A lot of showers in the west, up in the north, be falling as sleet and snow up over the northern hills too, but not too many showers, I think, over perhaps Yorkshire down through Lincolnshire, maybe into East Anglia. Temperatures around 7 degrees or so, strong and gusty winds in the north, strong and gusty winds in the south, but in the middle, dying down for just a shade. As we go into Saturday, though, some pretty miserable weather, very strong winds. It looks as though there could be some destructive winds over northern parts, down through Wales, into the West Country, and winds there could well be gusting up to about 70 miles an hour. That's the forecast. Bye for now.
A new location.
Dublin's got a lot to offer, Sam.
With the same old prejudices.
Women are invariably mothers first, ambassadors second.
A battle to reconcile the demands of high office with one's conscience.
If you have to take a life to save a life, then take it.
You have misled the Prime Minister. You put your own interests above those of the country.
And a need to juggle the restrictions of public life.
I didn't need protection till you showed up.
With the needs of a family.
Everything I say, you turn against me.
You're a career woman. What do you expect?
Starring Pauline Collins and Dennis Lawson.
Don't underestimate the ambassador. She's her own person.
A major new series, The Ambassador, begins Sunday 9 o'clock on BBC One.
Once upon a time, a girl named Alice got very curious about a little white rabbit.
Lewis Carroll, like Alice, has intrigued each new generation.
Dons and professors and clerics. Once you take the animal heads off, you begin to see what it's all about.
You are the original Alice in Wonderland.
A lot of people think that he was in love with her.
There is a diary entry which has been doctored.
Lewis Carroll, Curiouser and Curiouser. Omnibus, Sunday at 10:35 on BBC One.
It was the reunion the fans had been longing for, back together after more than a decade. Fleetwood Mac are in concert in 20 minutes. Before that on BBC One, the first in a series of programmes marking the Muslim month of fasting, Faces of Islam.